This, madame, is Versailles.
Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome to my channel again. This is Ling Ling and I've been traveling to Paris, and from Paris I've been driving to this beautiful place called Chateau de Versailles. It was always on my to-do list and finally I could have visited this, so I'm so happy to share with my journey with you all in this episode. The driving distance from Paris to Versailles is approximately 17 kilometers, about 10.6 miles. Depending on the traffic conditions, it typically takes about 30 to 45 minutes to drive from Paris to Versailles. So finally arrived here at Chateau de Versailles. You can see here there's a lot of people visiting it because it's like a very popular venue as well, and make sure that you have arranged your ticket on time. My advice to everybody is to buy the museum pass from Paris. The Museum Pass from Paris, or Paris Museum Pass, is a convenient sightseeing pass that provides access to over 50 museums and monuments in and around Paris. With this pass, visitors can skip the ticket lines at popular attractions such as the Louvre, Musée d'Orsay, and Palais de Versailles. But make sure that you also book your time frame online. You have to check the availability for your booking in advance. Visiting the Palace of Versailles can take several hours depending on how much of the palace and its gardens you wish to explore. On average, visitors spend about 2 to 3 hours touring the main place, and including the Hall of Mirrors, the King's and Queen's apartments, the Royal Chapel, and if you plan also to visit the gardens and the Trianon estate, you may need an additional 1 or 2 hours or more. So it's recommended to allocate at least half a day to a full day to fully experience the Palace of Versailles and its surrounding attractions. The Palace of Versailles, located in Versailles, France, is one of the most famous and extravagant palaces in the world. It was originally a hunting lodge built by King Louis XIII in 1623. However, it was King Louis XIV who transformed it into a magnificent palace and the seat of the French government in the late 17th century. Louis XIV, also known as the Sun King, expanded and renovated the palace, adding grand halls, gardens, and fountains. The Palace of Versailles became a symbol of absolute monarchy and the power of the French monarchy. The palace was the residence of French kings and queens until the French Revolution, which started in 1789, when the royal family was forced to leave. The palace was later used by Napoleon Bonaparte and restored by King Louis Philippe in the 19th century. Today, the Palace of Versailles is an UNESCO World Heritage Site and a popular tourist destination. It is known for its stunning architecture, beautiful gardens, and rich history. Why is Chateau de Versailles so famous? The Palais of Versailles was the principal residence of the French kings from the time of Louis XIV to Louis XVI. Embellished by several generations of architects, sculptors, decorators, and landscape architects, it provided Europe with a model of the ideal royal residence for over a century. In French, it is known as Chateau de Versailles. The Hall of Mirrors within the palace has a total of 357 mirrors. Everything used to construct and decorate the palace was created in France. At the time of the palace's construction, Venice had a monopoly on making the mirror. In 1661, Louis XIV commissioned André Le Nôtre to design and lay out the intricate grounds, a project that took 40 years to complete. Just 20 kilometers from the center of Paris, the palace has become a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and for good reason. In 2017 alone, the Versailles received an incredible amount of visitors of 7,700,000 people. The palace has a rich history, with several royal rulers calling it home over the centuries. A visit catapults history fans back to the opulent days of the 17th and 18th century palace life. Waiting to be uncovered is a whole host of incredible stories, bizarre facts, and fascinating quirks that build an even richer picture of the palace. The Palace of Versailles had fairly humble beginnings. Louis XIII was living from 1601 till 1643, bought the land because he loved hunting, and built a chateau as a lodge, where he loved staying at night if he had no time to go back to Paris or Saint-Germain-en-Laye before the dark. Louis eventually expanded the chateau and bought more land, which led the way for Louis XIV to turn Versailles into a palace during the 1660s and 1670s. He moved the French government and its court there in 1682. At one point, over 5,000 people could be accommodated in Versailles' large living space. The gardens of Versailles are some of the largest and most spectacular in the world and contain 372 statues, 55 water features, 600 fountains, and over 20 miles of water pipes. Inside the Palace of Versailles, we will find fully restored rooms such as the King's and Queen's sumptuous apartments, the soaring Grand Chapel with its breathtaking vaulted ceiling and golden pipe organ, and of course the dazzling Hall of Mirrors give you plenty of reasons to linger. It was once a palace and now it's a museum. The museum was intended to provide both historical and iconographic insight into the great figures and events which shaped the history of France, and the collections primarily comprise sculptures and paintings dating from the 16th through the 19th centuries. Built in 1684 and with a marked Baroque style, the Hall of Gallery of Mirrors is undoubtedly one of the rooms of the Palace of Versailles that attracts more tourists throughout the year. What was first commissioned by the king to impress his visitors today has become the emblematic icon of the palace. Every self-respecting palace at the time needed to have a chapel to match the renown of its members in order to hold daily masses and ceremonies. As you may have guessed, in the case of Louis XIV and his Palace of Versailles, the royal chapel ended up becoming one of the most sumptuous places in the entire complex. Already from the outside, you can see how it stands out from the rest of the building due to its vaulted ceilings, but without a doubt, what will leave you speechless is its interior, with an impressive solid marble floor and all the walls and ceiling painted by artists of the time. The Chapelle Royale cost more than £2 million in its time. The chapel that the Sun King was never able to enjoy. The paradox of this Chapelle Royale is precisely that Louis XIV put a lot of effort and money into its construction. However, the result that you can enjoy on your visit was not completed until 1710, and it was only 5 years later when the monarch died, ending the era of absolute monarchy in France. Before photography and social networks existed, memories were stored in pictures, and as Versailles liked to do everything in a big way, King Louis Philippe had this idea in 1837 to build a huge gallery in the palace to portray the great battles and achievements of the country. This gallery, which you can access with your entrance to Versailles, occupies almost the entire floor of the south wing of the palace and has become one of the mandatory stops. Much of the splendor of the Palace of Versailles was developed during the 17th century and the reign of Louis XIV. However, after the French Revolution, it was abandoned, and it was the arrival of Louis Philippe in the 19th century who was responsible for giving a new era to the complex. The king wanted to return the palace its essence and royal distinction, and you can see this early stage clearly reflected in the Empire Rooms, which, consisting of 3 rooms, are part of what was known at the time as the Museum of French History. The Empire Rooms are not open to the public in its entirety, but you will always have the opportunity to see a part of these great rooms where you can see the works that the king himself had painted to reflect the whole period of France that includes the Directory, the Consulate, and the Empire. If you want to know firsthand how the kings of the 17th century who changed the history of France lived, do not hesitate to take an excursion from Paris with a guided tour of Versailles, and of course do not miss any details of their own rooms. The King's and Queen's chambers are two of the most important and central rooms of Versailles, as they are the most personal and intimate part of the royal life. Although the image of unity of the kings was just as important as today, both had separate rooms adapted to the needs and protocols. Thus, although both chambers are equally decorated and luxurious, in the king's chamber the court attended every morning his awakening in the morning, his lunch hour, and his bedtime. These two chambers have as a centerpiece the royal apartments, where you can see the bed where Louis XIV himself slept and where he perished in 1715. To know in the flesh the ostentation and luxury of the time is a fundamental part of your visit to the palace, and you can easily access after seeing the acclaimed halls of mirrors. One of the stories that most often attracts the attention of visitors is that of the three daughters of Louis XV, or as they have been known for centuries, the Mesdames. The sisters lived their entire lives in the palace during the reign of their father and remained single all their lives, attracting the attention of the court and making them known as the spinsters of the king. The Queen's bedchamber is the most important room in the apartments, and it is where the Queen spent most of her time. It was where she slept, often with the King, and in the morning she received guests here during and after her toilette, which, like the King's getting up ceremony, was a courtly affair controlled by strict etiquette. It was also here that the Queen gave birth, in public, to the princes and princesses of the realm. The word public, however, is misleading, since in reality very few people were admitted to the bedchamber while the Queen was giving birth. Only doctors, ladies in waiting, the governess of the princes and princesses of the realm, the princesses of the royal family, and a few members of the church were allowed to enter. The rest of the court waited in the other rooms in the apartment, whose doors were all symbolically left open. The Queen was placed on a labor bed brought in specially and was hidden behind a screen or canvas tent. After giving birth, she was placed back in her own bed while the whole court filed through to present their compliments. 19 princes and princesses of the realm were born here between 1682 and 1786, and two queens died here, Maria Theresa in 1683 and Marie Lesinska in 1768. A succession of kings continued to embellish the palace up until the French Revolution. Today, the palace contains 2,300 rooms spread over 63,154 square meters. In 1789, the French Revolution forced Louis XVI to leave Versailles for Paris. The Gallery of Great Battles is the largest room in the palace. 120 meters long and 30 meters wide, it covers almost the entire first floor of the south wing. It was designed in 1833 and construction started the same year. It was solemnly inaugurated on 10th June 1837, constituting the highlight of the visit of the Museum of the History of France. Louis-Philippe displayed 33 paintings here depicting the greatest battles that had influenced the history of France, from the victory in Tolbiac by Clovis to the victory in Wagram by Napoleon in 1809. All the dynasties from the history of France are evoked, including the Mérovingians, Carolingians, Capetians, Valois, and Bourbons. Louis-Philippe skillfully incorporated depictions of the victories by the Revolution and the Empire. His message was simple. France had built itself over the course of battles against enemies from both abroad and within. The country is henceforth glorious, at peace, and ready to enter a new era built on peace and prosperity. A lot of paintings which are very famous hang here, from historical paintings of the time including Allot, Beauchamp, Couder, Delacroix, De Verrières, Véron, Fragonard, Son, Franck, Heim, La Rivière, Mozès, Picot, the Scheffer brothers, Schnetz, Chopin, Steuben, and Vernet. The gallery's architecture, designed by Frédéric Neveu and almost certainly with advice from Pierre-Léonard Fontaine, evokes the latter's projects for the Grande Galerie in the Louvre during the Consulate and the Empire. It was a solemn space punctuated with avant-gardes of columns lit up by glass ceilings in the vault and finely decorated with marble and painted and gilded stuccos. The gallery was also designed as a pantheon to national glory, with a series of 80 busts of officers killed in a combat, as well as tables in bronze bearing the name of princes, constables, maréchals, and admirals also killed or wounded for France. Since its opening, the gallery has remained intact and untouched, with all the works commissioned by the Citizen King for its decoration. Today, it is still one of the most impressive examples of Louis Philippe's project for Versailles and one of the finest examples for major museum projects of the 19th century. In conclusion, the excursion to the Palace of Versailles offered a captivating journey into the past, unveiling a wealth of intriguing historical facts and stories. Visitors had the opportunity to discover the lavish lifestyle of French royalty, the architectural marvels of the palace, and the political significance of Versailles in shaping the course of the history. From the halls of mirrors where historic treaties were signed to the stunning gardens designed by André Le Nôtre, each corner of Versailles holds a unique tale waiting to be explored. The opulence, the artistry, and the grandeur of Versailles serve as a window into a bygone era of power, prestige, and cultural richness. It was a marvelous excursion, and what I've learned is a deeper understanding of the captivating history that continues to resonate through the halls of this iconic place. Thanks everybody for being part in my journey to Château de Versailles, which was absolutely amazing, and I hope that next time you can join me for another excursion or adventure. As a reminder, visitors can also purchase, of course, lovely souvenirs at a souvenir shop to commemorate their experience and take a piece of Versailles home with them. Whether it's a miniature replica of the palace or a beautiful piece of artwork or a book detailing the history of Versailles, there's something for everyone to treasure as a memento of this unforgettable visit. There are a lot of things for sale like art prints, postcards, beautiful prints and postcards featuring scenes from Versailles are available for art enthusiasts and collectors. Jewelry and accessories. Visitors can also find elegant jewelry and accessories inspired by the royal heritage of Versailles. There are also like home decor and gifts, from decorative items to unique gifts. The souvenir shop offers a selection of products that capture the essence of Versailles. It is located at the ground floor, and it's a popular stop for visitors looking to take home a piece of the iconic landmark. Thanks again for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and follow me for more in future. Thanks so much.